We are live.
And we're live on the Wednesday Write-In. Your hosts, Mason in the Dark and Wilde Cait. And I really should have done her name first, because it's actually her show and I'm just a guest.
No, it is okay. It is okay. Oh man, and my phone is telling me that we're live. Yes, I know we're live because I put.
Somebody's texting KK.
Yeah. Well, it was my phone telling me that we were live.
Like, I know we're live, I pressed the button.
Right? Yeah. I feel like silly phone.
You have launched a nuclear attack. I know, I pressed the red button.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be more like it would constantly ask you, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure what you want to do? Are you sure?" Oh.
I
Yeah.
don't feel like it would. I feel like it'd just be like, red button, done. You don't have time to think this through anymore.
Oh man. Well, I mean, because I was thinking, because there's some of these places where you make purchases on things online, and it's like, "Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure this is what you're going to do?" I'm like,
It
"Yeah,
depends where you're going to, though, because Amazon,
yeah."
once you set up Amazon, it's just like, buy, 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 buy. You press the button and it doesn't even ask you to confirm. It's just like, no, you've purchased that now and we're sending it to you. There's fuck all you can do about it.
Exactly. It's like, "Oh well, you already did it. Never mind."
If you regret buying these ornamental shoes, tough.
Right, exactly, because it could be from a seller that doesn't take returns. So screw you.
So, how are you, Wild Kid?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I'm a little tired, but I'm good. That's because I got up kind of early today and already did like all my exercising and all that stuff. So,
Boo, exercise.
all right. Well, well, I mean, I'm getting to where I'm actually enjoying it again. Uh,
Yeah.
Before, I mean, I because when when I was in like my late teens, early 20s, I I was a gym rat. Like I worked out twice a day, all that stuff. It was like my favorite thing to do. And then the whole situation happened with my misadventure in friendship, and my health went downhill, and I gained all that weight, and now you know I've spent the last 2.5, almost 3 years trying to get it off, and that was not a very enjoyable experience for me because I was constantly tired and winded and stuff. But now I've actually gotten a lot stronger and actually able to enjoy it again, so to speak.
I know the feeling. When I
Yeah.
first started walking, it was just like, what's going on? My body wants to fall apart. Please, just let me rest.
More like
But now,
crawl in a hole and die.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Whereas then now, I've actually started to sort of enjoy it and probably have a slight addiction to it. It started out where we were like, yeah, we'll walk about 6 miles a day, and that just basically never happened because
Yeah.
we walk 8-9 miles a day.
Ah. Ah.
As of today, in total, we're at 614 miles, I think.
Oh. Hey.
So we'll
So
have walked 1,000 miles before you know it.
yeah. And how far is it to Mordor again?
Estimates online put it between 11 and 1,800. So I'm either halfway or a third of the way.
Like depending on what mode of transportation. Be like, are we going by eagle or Shanks pony?
Never eagle.
No.
We don't talk about the Eagles as Tolkien fans. Because then everyone brings up the eagle argument, and our blood pressure gets high, and it's like, no, go and read The Hobbit, and it explains why they can't use them as taxis.
Exactly.
And it's a stealth mission, and it'd be like flying a jumbo jet into Mordor, and why have I even got myself into this? Why couldn't they just fly the eagles to Mordor? Because just think about it for a second. God damn!
Exactly. Like, this is no, this is not a giant plot hole. This is not. Stop saying that it is.
Oh, I don't like Lord of the Rings. It's all walking. It's not all walking. There's some fighting too. And consumption of lembas bread.
You're like, it's some fighting too.
A few speeches.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. They're, and they talk while they're walking.
Oh, and smoking too.
Smoking. Yes, there's quite a bit of smoking.
Although that's mostly in the extended cut.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh man.
So how goes the writing then?
The writing goes pretty good. I am oh man. Like I said, I've been putting the second part of Gehenna and the first part together. I've had to integrate them. Plus, I have
after you ripped them in half.
Yes, after I ripped them in half. But I also, upon doing this, I'm really, really glad that I decided to take it down and repack it and make it beefier, because there's so much more stuff I've been able to do with it.
All that beef.
Yes, all that beef. It just sounds wrong. Are that beef, precious?
Speaking of being ripped in half, I've told you of my my Two Towers experience, right?
What?
So when I was a kid,
Uh-huh.
When I was still going through the books for maybe like the second or third time, one of my friends asked to borrow the Two Towers.
Mm-hmm.
So being the guy that I am and always wanting to get more people into Lord of the Rings, I was like, yeah, sure, you can borrow it. And when I got it back, luckily it was only like a shitty paperback edition, but when I got it back, it was in half.
No.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was furious.
Yeah.
Luckily,
Oh
it kind of ended up being a good thing, because what happened afterwards was that my dad bought me the 50th anniversary edition that has like the bind up of all three, which was a treasured possession. So I no longer had to have them in 3 books, but still, that friend was not a friend any longer.
No, that's like people that give you a book back with dog-eared pages.
I can't say anything about that. I would never do it to somebody else's copy, but as a teen, I always dog-eared the pages.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. What you do behind closed doors, secret yourself, it's fine. But,
what seedy acts you choose to get up to.
Exactly. What seedy, unsavory things you do to your own.
Unsavory. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yes. Or, going.
Hi, I'm Mason, and I'm addicted to dog ear pages. Hi, Mason. It's just a big support group of people that like dog ear pages and make annotations.
Well, hey, I mean, making annotations though, that if it's okay, if it's a paperback that you got that you use to, make reference notes in for future use of something, that's perfectly fine. I make notes in margins of different things as long as I know that it's like, you know, a reference paperback. But going into a bookstore and opening up a book and finding that someone has dog eared the pages of a book that is on the shelf at the bookstore. Yeah.
I wish someone could capture your reaction to that on candid camera.
Oh my god. Oh man. My sister should have filmed me because the last time I went to a bookstore and I opened this book and I looked and there was 2 dog-eared pages and I said, oh. I said, the spawns of Satan are at it again.
I need to use that as one of my threats of the day on my videos. The like and subscribe buttons are just sitting there, waiting to be pressed. Now press them, or I'll dog ear all the pages in your local bookstore.
I'll dog ear every page in your personal library.
Or I'll make mocking annotations in all of your favourite books. Just like they just open up the book and find like you should have pressed the like button.
Like you're.
Why didn't you subscribe? Question mark! Exclamation mark! Question mark! Exclamation mark!
I feel like even your mom subscribed.
Some of the words blacked out.
Right. Or just draw like really weird mocking faces in the margins.
Those tongue out emojis.
Right. Or like have like a doodle of like a dick and then like an arrow pointing to it and be like, this is what you look.
This is you.
This is you for not subscribing.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
In case you hadn't gathered from this conversation, I have a YouTube channel. youtube.com/Mason in the Dark.
Exactly.
And trust me, guys, since this is a writing stream, I will plug it. If you go over to my channel very soon, by which I mean within the next few weeks,
yes,
I will be uploading Chapter 4 of The Bleeding Ground, which is the serialized novel that I'm currently releasing, written and narrated by myself. And it's gonna be a beefy boy.
Oh boy. Yes, it sounds like it's going to be quite a beefy boy. And
I'm guessing it's probably gonna be around. I mean, it's gonna break 13,000 words easily, I would guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no way I'm gonna write this ending in less than 2,000 words.
Yeah.
But what's brilliant is, I actually worked out yesterday. I told Zach, I worked out how many words The Bleeding Ground is in total.
Oh.
And including this chapter, up to now where it is.
Yeah.
The entirety of The Bleeding Ground is 16,000 words.
Oh wow.
Which 10,000 of which are this chapter that I'm currently working on. I worked out how many pages The Bleeding Ground would be so far. It was 67 pages. When I worked out how many pages this chapter would be, it was 30 pages.
Oh my god! You're like, so this is the majority of the novel as is right now. The entire chapter.
Trust me, it'll be worth it.
Yes.
Cait's been getting updated on my progress as I've gone through, and
And I am very excited. And oh my god, it's so funny because and Zach will tell you too. Like, especially recently, I like I'll get a message and then I'll be like, "Oh, I want to tell you so bad," and he's like,
oh, it's gonna be so bad if he ends up hating it.
"No, he's not. He's not gonna hate it. He's not gonna hate it. I'm sure."
I trust you when you say that. You know him better than I do, so if you say he'll like it.
Oh, yeah, he'll like it. Yes, especially what you sent me before
Oh yeah.
giving
Oh
spoilers.
yes.
But yes, yeah. Oh man, and I like how you said I know him better, which is kind of interesting because I realized tomorrow will actually be our anniversary.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Anniversary of the first time that we spoke on the phone.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like a cute little puppy.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm weird and sentimental about stuff like that now. Like, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't as much before, like when I was younger, but then, kind of how after everything happened, I find that I don't know. I treasure more things like that than I do things.
Yeah, of course.
You know. So
That's a bit late, phone. I've literally just this second got the notification telling us that we're live.
oh my gosh, it's like wow, wowie, YouTube and Facebook and everybody waiting a whole 20 minutes.
But no, I can see why you would treasure that. It's always it's always important to treasure those things. At the end of the day, what you realise when you become an adult is that friends are actually few and far between, because adolescence tricks you into thinking that you're going to have this big core group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, sure, I'm sure some people do.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, for the most part, it seems to be that the adult experience is your friends get whittled down to the select few who are willing to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the ones that you have to hang on to, because the rest of them just fade away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I have, one friend left from high school who I still talk to on a regular basis. And that's pretty much it. Everyone else is maybe, once or twice a year it'll be like, hey, how you doing? And we'll have a little catch up. But
right.
I mean, I don't even think that most of them have listened to any of my content, or and, I don't care when it comes to the book reviews or whatever, but it'd be cool to hear from some of them that, like, oh, I've listened to some of your poetry or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
But Dan, who is the friend I still have, he listens to everything, which is nice.
Yeah. And and that's another thing too that I find discourages a lot of writers when especially with with me doing a lot of this stuff. I've realized that even a lot of my family, they don't watch any of the stuff that I do or actually read any of my stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, that's great, you're doing this or whatever, but they don't actually, actively participate in.
Well,
you know.
What's the most common question you get? It's almost the first question you get when you tell people you're a writer. So when are you going to be published? And it's like, if someone comes to you and they're like, I'm training to be a dancer, your first reaction isn't, so when are you going to be on Broadway?
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, as soon as you tell them that you're going to be a writer, they're like, cool, when are you going to be published then?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but you know, even launch, um, when I did launch Gehenna and the other back in November, well, actually back in October, I, you know, it it was like, oh, okay, you know, or or me doing these videos and stuff, or anything like that. It's all just been just kind of generic, like, oh, okay, that's cool that you did stuff, but like no actual participation or anything like that. Which I mean, I think part of the issue is for some reason because of the familiarity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people think writer, and then they think book, and they think that you must be, aiming to get something published, and then they obviously, most people would think of trad pub
Mm-hmm.
and getting it out that way, as opposed to, doing the online equivalent of peddling it all yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing with the YouTube, with like running your own channel. You tell people that you're doing that, and the first thing you get is like, cool, how many subscribers do you have? Oh, you can get advertisements on YouTube, right? When are you going to make some money out of it? And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, do you realize what it takes to get monetized on YouTube?
Right.
You gotta have over 1,000 subscribers. You gotta have like over 4,000 hours of watch time. Do you realize how like mostly impossible that is?
Mm-hmm.
And people just don't get that sometimes you just do something because you love it
Right.
rather than trying to find monetary gain in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I make YouTube content because it's fun and I enjoy it. I write because it's fun and I enjoy it, and I'm not looking to make money out of it. Would I like to get The Bleeding Ground published when, it's a complete novel? Yeah, of course I would. But mostly just to have it out there as a book and to have people tell me what they think of it, as opposed to, oh yeah, I want it to become a bestseller and I want to make millions of dollars.
Right.
For me, it's worth it just to get the reactions of, people like Lee and my mum and you and Zach and
Yeah.
someone like Katarina, who's a friend of mine on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
who loves The Bleeding Ground, and she highlighted it in a recent Reads video
Yeah.
where she talked about it, and she was saying about how much she loves my descriptions of scenery and stuff like that, and to me that makes the writing process worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
sitting and getting those reactions and knowing that you're making some sort of difference, even if it's just providing entertainment. Shit, we live in a fucking dark world sometimes.
Yes.
And knowing that you might be writing something that provides an hour or, a few hours of entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's worth it.
Yeah. And I would have to say that's probably one of the things that I enjoyed most about being a ghostwriter was the fact that, it wasn't so much, oh, hey, I get to do this for all these, somewhat big name people, because I took jobs for everybody. I didn't care what level you were, mid list, no list, big deal, whatever. Didn't care. Because my entire thing was, hey, I'm helping this person be able to translate their creativity because, for whatever reason they can't, which in my naivete, that was not the issue. It was they wanted someone else to do their work for them. But that's not what I was focusing on. What I was focusing on was the fact that it was giving me an opportunity to tell stories in a way that was, even though it was in their voice, I was telling them in a way that only I could. And it gave me a gift because I was able to get people's reactions to these different things that I was writing completely unadulterated.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know that it was me.
Yeah.
So
you don't have that bias of them feeling like they need to tell you that it's good because it's you.
Right,
Sort
yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
The thing is, as well, with you saying about, most of them just wanting you to do their work for them.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you've got to think of it as like, if you do it for 20 people and only 3 of those people are doing it because they have a great idea that really matters to them, but for whatever reason, be it confidence or lack of skill or maybe even some sort of disability,
Yeah.
and you're helping them get that idea on the paper and bringing that story to life,
Mm-hmm.
surely those 3 out of 20 people, it's worth doing the other 17 for, just so that you can also do those 3.
Right, yeah. I mean, because I found that I valued more being able to do it for, well, one of my clients. She was getting ready for retirement because she's in her 60s, and I can't give a whole lot of information because she's kind of a big deal, but um, she was looking at retiring because she has severe arthritis. So she was looking to wrap up the last of her series, and you know, I ended up getting to do that, and I found that to be an honor because I was like, oh wow, hey, okay,
Well, yeah, obviously, because that's someone looking at you and looking at the work that you do and saying, this person has the level of skill that I trust them with my work.
yeah. Plus, I mean, it's like, hey, you're closing the door on a chapter, or more like a whole ass novel of your life here, in your career, and I basically get to walk you to the door.
You're secretly Brandon Sanderson, aren't you?
No, no, no.
You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. Cait finished Wheel of Time. That guy that says he's Brandon Sanderson, that's just the guy that Cait pays.
I wish. Because if that were the case, that would mean that I had a chunk of that, what was it, $22 million that he made?
From that latest...
From Kickstarter? Yeah, for the 5 novels that he secretly wrote during lockdown.
That he says that he's wrote, that he hasn't quite written yet.
Mm-hmm.
I've written these 5 novels, but I'm not putting them out for another 3 years.
It's like, come on, man. Come on.
You haven't written them yet. Don't lie. You haven't written them yet.
Exactly. Man. Oh, you know what would be great? Need to, what's the word I'm looking for? Engage him in some kind of a challenge. Be like, okay, sir, you really have put these out. Let's see excerpts. Let's you and I race. I will race this man.
Let's see who finishes the novel first, Brandon.
Exactly. Yep. I will.
It's funny.
Brando Sando.
It's funny. Sanderson is one of those people that Lee, as like a non-book nerd, he's one of the people that she's sort of aware of, but he's also got one of those names that she just can't remember.
Yeah.
So she always calls him Brian Sanderman instead. So in our household, he's known as Brian Sanderman.
Oh, but it's so funny though because it's like it's like it's like Benedict Cumberbatch though because you can pretty much say his you can say his name pretty much any way and everybody knows who you're talking about.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes, exactly. Or cucumber squatch.
Bennesquitch Cumberpush. Wasn't even a full word. That was just my mouth moving.
That was gibberish.
The guy with the jawbones, the cheekbones.
Those things.
The guy that would have played Snape if the Harry Potter films were being made today.
Right, yeah. Oh, man. Even though Alan Rickman...
Oh, no, totally. I'm not saying that he was the wrong guy. I'm just saying if the Harry Potter films were being made today, you know that Cumbersnatch would be Snape.
Exactly. Cumbersnatch. Wumble patch. I don't know.
Come on, you know what I would love to see?
Uh-huh.
I would actually love to see your take on a Sherlock Holmes story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would love to see how you would tackle that, because I know with what you're like that you would try to stay true to the roots. So I know that we'd get like a more traditional, 1800s Sherlock as opposed to the modernizations that we get. But I know with just from the excerpts of your writing that I've heard, I can just hear you writing Sherlock dialogue.
Yeah, I would. Oh man, and I am so pissed that I don't have it anymore. But I had the full collection of Sherlock Holmes, all 4 of the novels and all of the short stories, and
I have the collection on Audible, and I have listened to A Study in Scarlet, but oh man, at the same time. I'm not gonna lie. So there's obviously you've got the whole bit with Sherlock, but then you've got the whole part 2 where it goes to America and like follows the cabbie and like shows why he's doing the things he does. Yeah. And I was like, I don't care.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Can we go back to London now, because I'm reading this for Sherlock Holmes, not this. And then the thing is that afterwards it goes back to Sherlock and he like summarizes the story anyway, and you're like, well, what was the point in that whole section?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why did you do that? Why did we take this detour? Oh my god. But yeah, part of why I'm pissed that I don't have it is because you saying I should do that. One of the things that I would do in ghostwriting is I would read as much of whatever a person had written, good, bad, indifferent, whatever, but just to be able to get a bead on their voice.
Yeah, I can imagine that was a skill that you picked up.
Yeah.
One day when I've put enough out, I'd love to see you try that on me.
Oh, man. Yeah, I would love that, because...
That would be so much fun.
Yes, because it's so great, because I have... This is also another reason why a lot of my stuff sounds different from each other. Like,
yeah, but that's a cool skill to have, because it means that you can target different audiences and please them, basically. is what I was thinking. If you wanted to write something horrific, you can target that horror audience, and it means that in your writing career you're not limited to what you can write.
Yeah. I mean, because
Whereas I'm not sure that I'm going to have that skill. Like, I don't know. I showed you that snippet of P for Payback, which was the crime one that I sent you.
yeah.
And I'm not sure how different that
Well,
sounds to the way that I write the Bleeding Ground.
I would say that there's a definite difference in voice.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's a definite difference in voice because with Bleeding Ground, and I would even say too that there is a difference in voice as far as narrative goes between Valdis's sections and Evander's.
Yeah. I'm happy that you feel that way, because I was worried that they'd feel samey.
Oh no, their tone is not the same at all. So yeah.
I tried to inject sort of like this, I don't know, sort of like a bit of pompous. I try to be a bit pompous when I'm writing Valdis, like with that, with Symphony of Screams and that bit where it's like, to Valdis, violence was like a fine wine, something to be drawn out and savoured,
right,
and all that sort of thing. Whereas in, like, Evander, you've got like, I don't know, it's just way more normal. Obviously, I can't say any of the things that I've written in that chapter yet, but even just the part that I've mentioned before, where he's talking to a bird, and so like I can mention this bit because I feel like it's the least spoilery thing, but like how he sees this bird that's grabbing up a caterpillar, and it's like, at least somebody's having breakfast,
right? Yeah,
and then like considers catching the bird, and he's like, but it'd barely be more than a mouthful, and besides, it's hardly its fault, is it? If someone interrupted me whilst I was trying to eat my breakfast, I'd probably ignore them too.
Yeah, because I mean that is completely different narrative tone than like you were talking about Valdis. Valdis comes across to me as like slightly posh and greasy.
Yeah. Well, I've told you before, Lee calls him Posh Boy Valdis.
Yeah.
It's funny because I would say that Evander is actually closer to it, like closer in voice to the narrator of View from the Fifth Floor.
Oh my god.
And the narrator of View from the Fifth Floor is an old man. And the other thing.
Oh man.
Oh god, I wish I could send View from the Fifth Floor to some sort of anthology, because I would love to see that story get a bit more love, because I'm genuinely proud of it, considering it was the first thing that I've ever completed, like I've ever written through to its entirety.
Yeah.
Man, when I put that out on YouTube, the feeling of just pure achievement that I had, I was just riding high for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then every now and again I get another little burst of it, like when Codex Cantina did their analysis, and then when Zach went back and read it and told me what he thought.
Mm-hmm.
So just every now and again I get that another burst of it, like
Oh, but speaking of anthologies, Zach and I were actually talking about putting together short story anthologies to go ahead and start publishing under Adventurous Publications.
I think that would genuinely be a good idea. That's something that I was going to ask you at some point, if it was something that you were going to do.
Yeah, because I love writing short stories, and even though it's we've just realized, Zach, I write short stories as palate cleansers. Apparently, he writes 55 to 60K novels as palate cleansers. Reading 149K, bricks of epic fantasy. because he's about a third of the way done with the super secret project already. So
He's doing really well with
yeah.
that. I hate to stroke his ego, but he is actually doing really well with it, and I've quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah. I have too, and it's so different from Garden though. I'm just like, whoa.
Oh yeah, it has a completely different tone.
Mm-hmm.
I've said. Has he told you any of the things that I've said to him about it?
Not much.
I've just basically I've said that it's got sort of this low key grit that reminds me of, especially those first few chapters that really remind me of like the first Rocky film.
Oh yeah.
Where Rocky's just like a bit of a bum, and he's like trying to get some money together, and he's just and just all that stuff, and yeah, like I say, it just really gives me vibes of that, and I think it works really well.
Yeah, it does. It does, especially how it's progressed too. I like that.
I can't wait to learn more about your super secret project because you haven't actually told me anything about it yet.
Well, cause my super secret project, I I mean, well, we call it super secret project. We sort of kind of touched on it last week. So this is not too spoilery, but it's about this this high school senior.
Oh yes, yeah, you did tell me about that. Yeah.
Is his name is Lyle, and he starts having nightmares and and waking up and being all banged up and stuff. Your typical beginning to most werewolf stories.
Yeah.
And
Lyle sounds very all American.
right, yeah. Plus it also translates to shield wolf.
Look at you, the symbolism.
Yeah, because I am the archive and I like lexiconography and stuff. So so I was like, or also calling the town that he goes to Hemming, which also translates to wolf in Norse. So,
wolf everywhere.
Yep, exactly. Like we're just gonna put this shamelessly everywhere. It's kind of, and it made me kind of think of Young Frankenstein when I don't know if you ever saw it, but with Gene Wilder, Young Frankenstein, and they were
No, I never seen it.
Oh my god, they were he was playing a character called Frederick Frankenstein, and he was Victor Frankenstein's grandson, and so he inherited the estate and had to go out there and get that all straightened out and everything. And so when he was there, he met Igor's grandson, who called himself Igor, because as kind
Very
of
inventive.
Joke, yeah, but it was kind of a joke because Friedrich Frankenstein was now having his name pronounced Frankenstein because he didn't want anybody to think of his grandfather. So Igor was like, oh, maybe it's pronounced Igor.
And this is my brother, Hugo.
Right.
And our cousin, Igor. and his brother Bagor.
And there's the runt Rogie, but that's just this
And this is Bob.
is Bob. And he doesn't like to feed his knees. He does not. Oh my god. Yeah. But one of the things was they were riding in the wagon up to the castle, and he heard a howl like off in the distance, and he jumps up and he's like, "Werewolf." And Igor says, "Werewolf? There, wolf. There."
Oh, how very punny.
Right, exactly. He was like, "Why are you talking like that?" He was like, "I don't know. I thought this is what you wanted to do. Fine. Suit yourself." Oh, man. But yeah, Mel Brooks was brilliant.
So, talk me through what I want to know is that how do you begin your projects? Like, what do you start with? Are you an outliner, a pantser? What do you do?
I am, well, kind of like Zach says, I'm a mixture between an engineer and a gardener. So, what I start with most of the time is I will nail down what the purpose of the story is, because I feel like, okay, if your story has no point, there's no point in telling it. So
just absolutely kicked me in the dick.
well, a lot of people, that's how a lot of people take it, but really, to boil that down, if there's no point in telling your story, there's no point. If you don't have a point to your story, there's no point in telling it at all. The thing is, okay, your point or your purpose of your story can literally be anything. It can be, when you start writing it, it can be something as, simple as this person, goes on this journey and does this thing.
Or trying to prove to your friend that you can write horror.
Yeah, I mean, that can literally be the point. I mean, if that's what you make the purpose of your story.
You should have seen me when I was first typing the bleeding ground. Because that, obviously, like I said before, that was the point of my friend being like, "Oh, if you tried to write horror, it'd come out as comedy." And I was like, "Oh, I'll show you." And then these ghosts come out of the ground and they slit this guy's throat, and rag 'em, I'll show you I can write horror. Valdus Doyle was a man by description only. By definition, he was fear itself. Evil bastard.
Like, you write that aggressively, and then somehow they still find a way to find it funny. Fuck you.
Oh my god! If someone reads Bleeding Ground and finds it funny, I think they may be slightly unstable. Oh, it's so funny, the bit where they slit his throat and it doesn't work. Oh, it's so brilliant.
It's like, wait a minute, what?
Oh, the bit where he's tied to the stake and he taunts them that he killed loads of their family members. Ah. To be fair, though, now that I've had it pointed out to me, I do find the whole, like, it was a tempting smell, even if it did seem like the meal was in need of seasoning. Some dill or fresh chives would have given it an aromatic punch. Like, okay, Valdus, chill out. You're not on MasterChef.
Right, exactly. He's like, I could be.
Calm down, Gordon Ramsay.
Right. Oh my god. the purpose or point of your story, like I said, it can literally be anything. And one of the best ways to find it, okay, because I took this process kind of from when I would get ghostwriting commissions from people, and I would tell them, okay, what I want you to do is to write down the entire story for me from beginning to end in no less than 3 pages. I took a very rocket science approach to this, which basically the concept behind rocket science is where they gather all of the data that they have that from everything, not leaving anything out, from beginning to end, the entire everything that could go wrong, everything that could go right, whatever, all of it, all the ins and outs, everything, not sparing any detail in no less than 3 pages. Just put it all down, just vomit it out on the paper. And this is what I would tell people to do with their stories when they would hand them to me if they hadn't put the concept down. I was like, this is what I want you to do. Just give me everything. Blah. And then what you do after that, because I adopted this for myself, I just put everything down in no less than 3 pages, and then I go over and I read all of that, and then I boil it down to as much as I can fit in a paragraph without leaving out anything, but condense it all down into a summary that I can fit into a paragraph. And that eventually becomes the basic synopsis and what you put on the back of the book, which a lot of people think that that's really, really hard to get to, which is why I think it's so important to do it first. Because it acts as a sort of magnetic north or kind of roadmap so that you never get lost in writing your story wherever it takes you. Basically, you have that to go back to and be like, okay, this is basically the thing that I am building the foundation on.
Yeah, the thing that I'm shooting towards.
Yeah. And then I take that and I boil it down even further to a sentence or two, like 1 or 2 sentences that sum up the entire story. And that is what I have as a pitch line. So I already have that. And then once I do that, I read over the 1 or 2 sentences I have that can sum up the entire story, and whatever comes to mind, whether it's a synchronicitous number, a name, or a word or two that comes to mind from reading that, is whatever my working title is going to be. And sometimes it's actually ended up being the title of whatever I'm working on. And that's how I get started. And then I can look over all of that, and the purpose of the story, if I don't know it already, will bubble itself to the surface after doing all of that. So, like, for instance, one of the things that, one of the purposes to the world next door is establishing for my world building that, you know, you have the power to alter, govern, or create your own reality. And the other theme is, who could you be if you would be yourself completely uninterrupted?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like the sound of the world next door, to be honest.
Yeah.
I hope that one day I get the chance to actually read it.
Yeah,
I have a feeling from what you've told me that I would that I'd quite enjoy Heath.
Yes, because I am chugging away at it, and it's oh my god, because he's oh my gosh, this poor guy. I don't know. It's just one of those characters where it's just like, this came out of me. Where did you come from, man? Like, I don't know anybody like this, and if I did, I'd be like, dude, somebody just needs to give you a hug and calm down.
I kind of feel that way with Veldus. Not so much with Evander, because I'm like, yeah, I can see how you've sprung forth from my brain, especially with the things that I was telling you before the show.
Mm-hmm.
But with Veldus, it's like, dude, where did you come from? What like, what part of my brain were you living in that I pulled you from?
Yes, man. I mean, oh my god, because I have, even in the world next door, there's some pretty graphic stuff in here, and I'm like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, what part of me did I scrape this out of? And
I have a friend called Lenny who is he just sort of loves my stories but hates them at the same time, and he's just like, dude, why can you not write a happy story? I was like, View from the Fifth Floor's funny.
yeah,
And he's like, yeah, no, it's not. It's like, yeah, this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and all this stuff at the end, and I'm like, yeah, but his observations are funny, and he's like, yeah, but the ending. I'm like, oh, fine.
yeah.
And then he's like, and then you write Symphony of Screams, and you just have Valdus running wild, being the little scheming bastard.
Mm-hmm. Oh god.
I'm like, one day I'll write you a happy story, I promise.
One of these days. Oh man, that makes me think we really need to get on that comedy anthology.
Adventures in comedy.
Yes, or misadventures in comedy.
Yeah.
Oh man, did I read you the the thing about the toilet paper?
No.
Oh gosh. Okay.
That sounds fantastic.
Yep.
I'm sold.
Dear. Okay.
Something that you wrote with toilet paper.
Yes.
I'm sold.
Oh man. Well, yeah, because I have all of these short stories. You know, like the one about the brownie. And,
yeah.
you know, oh, I also have this other one on here.
Do they all involve poop?
No, they do not all poop, and they don't all involve poop. They don't all involve, like, that kind of humor, because some of it is like, oh my goodness, my computer is being like, I don't want to do. Okay. Some of them is like basically this guy just making a fool of himself, even at work. Like, when he's got like a really big account to settle or something, and everybody's like, oh yeah, you can speak this language because you're from this place, and he has to kind of play his way through it. Afterwards be like, oh, I did not understand a word that the guy said, but somehow this went okay. Yay! I didn't get fired, and I didn't die, so that's great.
I need to write a short again, but at the minute I just don't have any space in my brain. The bleeding ground's like, hey, I'm here, write me.
Right, exactly. It's like, You will finish me. You will do it.
Finishing it seems like an insurmountable task at the minute. I feel like I'm at the bottom of the mountain and I've got to climb it. And it's funny with what you were saying about that whole process,
Mhm.
because when it comes to the bleeding ground, I have a pretty strong idea of how I want it to end,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure how I'm gonna get there. Like, for a start, if it comes to the point where Evander and Valdus are ever going to have some sort of final confrontation or whatever, which is, what most people will be thinking that it's leading up to,
Mhm.
I have no idea how to get them into the same part of the world. Because I've set up this world and now I'm doing, world building and trying to make it feel like an actual, living, breathing world. And now I'm like, yeah, but how are you ever supposed to get them in the same place?
Mhm.
Because, like, what's going to happen? Evander's just going to stumble on him. Oh, it's you!
Like, oh, hi.
I've been looking for you everywhere. It's always in the last place that you look.
Oh my gosh. Like it, oh man, that for some reason that made me think of Rambo 3 where the guy was like, "Where are they?" And the like they'd been torturing this dude and uh interrogating him or whatever, and he was like, where are the missiles? Where are they? Whatever. And he was like, okay, fine, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. And he was like, come in, come here. He was like, they're close. He was like, close? How close? He was like, up your asshole. Like,
But with the way that I've been writing them, let's say with this chapter, I knew what I wanted towards the end. Actually, mostly because of a song.
oh wow.
Because I got so into listening to different tracks because of curating the soundtrack for the last chapter. I found this song and I was like, oh man, I need to use that for the next chapter. And I was like, well, what sort of scene could go to this? And I was like, okay, cool. That is where this chapter needs to go. But then, I've had to spend 10,000 words getting there.
Oh my god.
And then it's going to be the same thing next chapter where, it's funny. I said to Lee, because I've done all this work with Evander in this chapter, I've now got to the point where I'm like, yeah, but what am I going to do with Valdus next chapter? Whereas before, I felt like I needed to get Evander's chapter out of the way so I could go back and, write more cool Valdus stuff.
Right.
But now I'm like, yeah, so what's Valdus doing next time around then?
You're like, I don't know. What is happening? Oh my god. But okay, so this story it's called The Dam. Okay, so
The dam
the
with
dam.
toilet paper.
Yep.
This is going to be messy, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's going to be poop everywhere.
Everywhere. So
I pooped. I'm sorry. I pooped. It's everywhere. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, so oh my gosh, that voice was amazing. Oh my god. So, um, hmm, here we go. So, we were working late at the studio one evening, dubbing one of the newest movies which was coming ready for release. And though I knew the sound engineer quite well, I really wanted to get on well with the sound director too. This was because this was my first time ever working with him, and I wanted to make a good impression. Because, really and honestly, first impressions and your reputation are everything in this business. He was quite a serious sort of guy. The only thing that denoted him as not being too terribly serious was the fact he had a habit of whistling. I personally have never understood the point of whistling, especially when it's completely random, out of nowhere, and not even a complete song. I mean, come on! It's kind of like me starting to sing random notes and lyrics from a song in the middle of a crowded bus. And I'm pretty sure this behavior would inspire everyone around me to turn and look at me like I had 5 or 6 heads. Then I would be for sure labeled as a crazy person, right? But if you whistle random things instead, that counts as completely normal behavior. That is accepted by everyone. It's weird, but whatever.
I, you've never been on a bus in England, then?
Right.
There's always some dude at the back like, ah, oh, oh, and it's usually me.
Ah. Yeah.
And I sit at the back of the bus like, dun, 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 dun.
Dun 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 dun. Oh my gosh.
Continue. I'm sorry.
No,
I just
you're
had to
good.
interject there.
I love commentary. Let's see. Okay. Anyway, we were in the process of completing our recording session when we were finally given a 10-minute break after working for 3 or 4 hours straight without one. So I headed to the toilet, as one usually does when you're given a break after a long period of work. But there was something different about this time than the others. For some reason, which still remains unclear to me to this day, I was hit with the overwhelming urge to throw up. This caused me to make way to the toilet with great urgency, as I didn't want to blow chunks somewhere other than the bathroom and humiliate myself in front of the sound director, whom I was so desperately desiring to impress. I am not completely certain whether the sick feeling was from food poisoning due to something I had eaten earlier on in the day, or if it was simply the fact I was nervous about impressing the director, but all I knew in that moment for sure was a storm was brewing inside of me that was about to release a volcanic eruption, and it was going to come out somehow. Which end, I couldn't be certain. So I made haste.
For which end I couldn't be certain. We really are birds of a feather when it comes to writing, aren't we?
Yes. Yes. Oh man. He's like, when I finally made it to the toilet, after what seemed like an eternity, I realized, to my horror, there were only 2 stalls in the bathroom, and one of them was already occupied. My first thought was, shit, this sucks, because I cannot stand the thought of other people listening when I'm trying to relieve myself from either orifice. And when you and when you're not feeling right, there are obviously things to listen to. Am I right? Yeesh. So, anyway, without going into too much gory detail, all I can say is what happened next can almost be compared to a grand orchestral piece that didn't stop for the better part of 5 minutes.
What I thought you were going to do there was like, without going into too much gory detail, give all the gory detail.
Yeah. I probably should have. There's still time to change it. Oh, man.
Yeah. No, I like that line. That's brilliant.
Suffice it to say, I had the worst diarrhea ever. I felt at the moment it was the worst case in the history of mankind, and somehow it had been bestowed upon me just then. Damn, how lucky am I? For a moment, I wondered about the guy in the neighboring stall, and when he would become bored and uncomfortable and just leave. During the pause, huh, during the pauses of the grand orchestra that was playing where my ass bassoon was the star, I heard very quiet music and the sound of talking, which made me realize, to my somewhat relief, he was most likely watching a movie on his phone. And this is why he probably didn't care about the inglorious chorus being carried on by my behind in the stall next to him. Thank God, I thought. Well, after I finally finished, I thought to myself, let's get the hell out of here. I only had a few minutes left from our break interval anyway, but when I flushed the toilet, my worst possible nightmare came to life before my very eyes. I watched as the brown water rose higher and higher in the bowl. It is always a scary thing to watch, even when you're at home, much less in public, and much worse at work. But even when this does happen, most of the time it just goes back after a while and you breathe a sigh of relief, which is exactly what you would expect to feel in the toilet anyway. However, not this time though. The muddy fluid rose higher and higher until it reached the critical point, the ceramic border, which is meant for the sole purpose of holding those demons back, which are never supposed to leave the underworld. Once the border was passed, I knew there was no going back. We had truly reached the point of no return. The sentiment was even more compounded when I tried, in one last ditch effort, to flush the toilet once again to see if perhaps that would set the cycle to rights, but all of my hopes were dashed when suddenly the handle seemed to completely disintegrate in my hands. I stood there for the longest time, staring at the broken pieces. After this, my first immediate thought was to quickly flee the scene when suddenly that familiar disjointed whistling hit my ears as someone entered the toilet. I waited.
Foreshadowing. Excellent.
I waited with bated breath as my mind flashed. It's him, right at the worst possible moment. I truly am the luckiest guy in the world, don't you know? Well, there was a reasonable gap between the ground and the outer world beyond the stall. Also, another one between the two cabins in which the guy was still watching his show. What do I do now? I wondered, doing my best not to panic, because you never think very clearly when you panic. But I was well past that point. Do not pass calm. Do not collect 200, if you know what I mean. I recognized the whistling, and I knew I didn't want the director to see my watered feces floating around the stall floor. So I responded to the situation with the only thing that made sense to me at the time. Why? Build a dam of toilet paper, of course. I took the toilet paper canister from the wall, which luckily was a huge one with multiple rolls inside, and started to roll out as much paper as I could in the shortest amount of time. I had two goals in mind at this point. One, to cover the gap shared with the outside world. Two, to cover the gap in the wall which was shared by the adjacent stall. After all, I didn't want to surprise my neighbor in the other stall with something creeping out from below.
Hello.
Exactly. Oh, we all know those scenes from those horror movies in which the blood just flows out from alerting the other players to someone's unfortunate demise. And I am quite sure that it would be equally as shocking to have muddy, watery shit creating the same effect. Not to mention, it would most likely be met with quite the same, if not somewhat similar, reaction. So, this is why I started to build the dam. I didn't want to build it right under the gap, as anyone would have been able to see it from the outside what I was doing, so I crammed the small space into an even smaller rectangle and began to lay down the layers of paper one by one. In the meantime, I didn't seem to notice that the water flow from the toilet in my stall was not coming to a stop. So, even though for a few seconds the whole structure I was building had a promising beginning, the new waves of water and shit started to destroy everything as quickly as I could construct it. The paper absorbed the water like a sponge, which is what it was designed to do. Duh. But of course, I was not thinking about that at the time. It became soft and mushy, making my entire fortress less and less reliable. At this point, I was on the verge of tears, covered in sweat and shit water. The water slowly continued to rise, and even though I still had some paper left to work with, the reality was I was standing in the middle of a pool of my own feces, and it stunk to high heaven. It felt like an eternity in hell for me, continuing to build my ever growing dam, and I knew it was only a matter of time before the others would decide to leave, which eventually happened. I almost couldn't believe it when I heard the door opening and him leaving the other guy to go in. I only had to wait until he washed his hands, dried them, and finally vacated the loo. When I finally was released from my shitty cage, I turned back for a second to look upon the massacre that had rendered this bathroom stall nearly unrecognizable. It was even worse than I could have imagined while I was trapped inside of it building my dam. I knew I was only seconds away from the sound record finding out about this little fiasco from the other cabin. Should I leave? Should I stay? Were two thoughts that passed rapidly through my mind.
Da, 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 da. Should I stay or should I go now? Don't want him to find my poo now.
Exactly. Oh my god. It's like for a split second, I gave some serious consideration to reporting it to someone. Then I realized there was no way that the news wouldn't make it around the building after minutes without me intervening somehow. Whatever.
An anonymous tip off.
Do. Right.
Like, there's been an accident in the bathroom.
Right. Exactly. Oh my god. Yep. He's like, yeah, so whatever was I going to do? Yep. So yeah. You'd be like, leave. That is what you do. Leave.
Was that the end?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yep. It's so great. I'm just like,
There's been an accident in the bathroom. We need a cleaner in there pronto. I can't. Excuse me, sir. Who is this? I can't tell you who it is.
Oh man. Yeah, because I thought about ending it alternately, with like it took me a few minutes to calm down and act like a normal human being, and then like make some kind of a report where he was like, I just so happened to see this, but then like leave and never go back there ever.
I hate this job. It's shit.
Right. Ha ha ha.
I'm sorry. I had to make a joke like that.
Yes. Oh my god. It would be it would be a Zach moment when I make jokes like that.
But what he should have done is like scoop the paper into a bowl and be like, anyone for ice cream?
Oh my god.
It's a double scoop.
Oh no. Oh my god. Oh.
Dark chocolate.
Yep.
It's rich.
Just like the brownie.
You know what I want to do
Mm.
is I really like the idea of like almost like a sort of documentary or a sort of spy thriller sort of thing about a conspiracy, but the whole thing is that so I have this thing, right, this running joke that I do basically for myself of how uh, people always give dragons a bad time. Like they're always portrayed as these like greedy monsters that sit on these piles of treasure and they burn down towns, and people are always killing them off. And oh, George was made into a saint and he killed the last one.
Right.
That's wiping out an endangered species. That is.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, it's the opposite thing with unicorns.
Mm-hmm.
So I really love the idea of this whole um, big lit conspiracy,
Mm-hmm.
where the whole thing is like for the last few decades they've been trying to paint dragons in this horrific light
Mm-hmm.
so that they can put out all this unicorn propaganda
Oh my
when
god.
actually unicorns are these like dangerous bloodthirsty beasts that like gore people to death. And like, did you know that approximately 7 people a day are killed by unicorns? And it's this dude like going around trying to uncover it all, and like I went to America to try to talk to the leading unicorn professor. And he like, like the dude won't answer his door and like gets
Yeah.
him like makes him go away and like won't talk to him about it. And
Oh my god.
Big Lit has lied to you.
Yes. Yes. They are spreading unicorn propaganda. Oh my god. That needs. Oh, man. I I will be very happy for us to get a production budget of some kind, because I think
Yeah,
that would be lit if we did that as a documentary.
it'd be so good. It'd be such a funny like, especially if you could have like, if you could put like the when like people don't want to be shown on camera, they have to do like the whole blurred out thing and like the dodgy little like. So I was working at this place and it was
Yeah,
a very dangerous.
right. Yeah, they have to like obscure their face and their voice.
Yeah, we
And
were told to print these books about unicorns, saying about how magical they were, and market them towards children.
oh my god! And then you could have like, um, oh my god, like implying that there were actual like cold forensic cases of people supposedly having killed themselves or whatever, but actually
Yeah, yeah.
they were murdered because they wanted to protect the conspiracy.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, I'd be like, yes, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
A talk tube documentary.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes.
A talk tube documentary special. And write a script for it, almost like audio description.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Oh my god, that would be awesome. Because that kind of sounds too almost like something I'm looking to do. Um, I want to do documentary or mockumentary where I take stuff that you know where I take stuff that seemed like it's plausible enough to have happened and present it like a documentary, but then I also take stuff that's true to life and, present it in a documentary fashion. and people have to figure out which one was real and which one wasn't.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Just as a point about like misinformation sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, but make it like a whole show.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, because it'd be fun. Because I love messing with people's minds. And just, I mean, not in any way harmful, but messing with people's minds in a way that it gets them to exercise their noodle. You know what I mean?
You have a noodle, use it.
Noodle, use it. Exactly. Is that a euphemism for something? I don't know. So yeah. Oh man. But we have been at this for almost an hour and a half now. So I think we've covered some
good ground.
ground. Yeah. And
We're in sync there. I was just about to say that we should start wrapping it up, so
yeah. But
Oh.
and Zach will just have to see all the fun he missed out on.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's what you get for resting, bitch.
Yeah, he's had a
Make
rough
sure-
couple of days, so it's okay.
Yeah. It's understandable, even if he is the leader of the ship.
Right, exactly. This tightly loose ship that we run around here.
Well, you can find adventurous publications on Twitter, on YouTube. If you head over to If You're Feeling Adventurous on Twitch, you can find a lot of content there, as well as the Wednesday and Saturday show, Adventurous After Dark, where we do Prose Police, which is self-explanatory. We run through prose and police it.
Yes.
We also have a variety of other segments, as well as author interviews. You can head over to YouTube and find Cait at Wilde Writer, me at youtube.com/Mason in the Dark.
Yep.
I think that's all the plugging I need to do.
And if you want to find Zach, you can also find him
Yeah.
on YouTube.
Zach Pieper on YouTube. Just didn't plug him at all. You're not here, you don't get plugged, bitch.
No butt plug for you. No.
Context is for pussies.
Exactly.
Dun, 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 dun,
Dun, dun,
dun, dun, dun.